The only clarification, I don't want to put her on the spot, is I'm a British Columbia senior champion rather than as much as I'd love to be a Canadian senior, we only have one of those in our midst. I think it's Jackie. So, I got involved with Jamie through Linda Jervis. And when Linda says, you need to come see this, you need to come do this. And I did. I'm so glad that I did. And I really want Jamie just to take it and introduce her work. She comes from a background from Aikido to golf to fitness to just a wonderful, wonderful background. And I'm so happy she's going to be able to share her passion and work with us today. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all being here. So I will give you some of my background. I have some stories for you and kind of where my whole approach, which is a very holistic approach. And I've been working with it in golf for, gosh, over 20 years. It seems like people are barely catching up to a holistic approach. So it's taken this long to get there. I'm also a psychologist. I'm a California licensed marriage family therapist. Did my master's work in clinical psychology and golf. I'm 6th degree black belt in Aikido martial arts, and I've been doing a lot of international work. I do corporate speaking, leadership, stress management, conflict management, and what else? Peacemaking between Israelis and Palestinians, some tough situations. And, we feel like we get in really tough situations on the golf course, and we need these skills in all aspects, all parts of our life. So I'm going to dive right in.
Can I ask, did you press record?
I did. Thank you. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
I remembered. Thank you. Okay. So I want to start out with a little bit of background, some childhood experiences, and let you know where I'm coming from there. Tell you how I got to Aikido, just tell you how it all kind of came together, and then give you some ideas about what you learn if you work with me. And I do have another golf mastery school coming up. I'll tell you about that later. But anyways, I started playing golf when I was 7 years old. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, not that far from Canada, really. And my parents started playing golf. I was 7, so I just went with them. And all I did was kind of swing and hit the ball and chase it around, and I was good. I started, we didn't have any junior golf programs then. I know a lot of you probably know that. We're talking about back in the 60s. Excuse me. And I was shooting in the 80s by the time I was 9, 10 years old. It was in the newspaper, et cetera, et cetera. The very first tournament I played was the Wisconsin State Junior Golf Championship. I had just turned 13 years old. At the time, that was like really a big deal. Now you see these swings on these kids that are like insane, when they're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. But at the time, it was really a novelty, and I didn't have an instructor. I really only played 2, 3, 4 months, 3 months of the year maybe, because you know what winters are like up there, and summers are short, but that's what you do all the time. Anyway, so I played my first state golf tournament. I was 13, and I won. You had to play a medal round and to qualify for the championship flight. I did, and then it's match play, right? And in the semifinals, I was down 3 holes with 4 to go. I made 3 birdies and a par. I remember it very well. Just kept sinking these putts and was like, wow. She was 16, and then I was in the finals, a 36-hole final against a 17-year-old, and she was strong from Madison, and somehow I won that. So here I was, Wisconsin State Junior Golf Champion, and I won just about every year. Another one I want to tell you about is I was the defending champion. I think I was 16 at that time, and again, it was the semifinals, right? And here I am, defending champion. I'm 1 down with 1 to play. It's the 18th hole. It's par 5. I hit my shot up. I'm on the fringe on the far left. The pin's on the far right. She's on the green already in 3. I remember distinctly walking up to that green going, oh my God, I'm praying that somehow I can 2-putt and maybe she'll 3-putt. That's my only hope, right? Because I have to win this hole, just even have sudden death. And I putt from off the green and I sunk it. I remember the ceiling coming off the clubhouse. Everybody's jumping. We're all jumping up to the sky. And the headlines were like, I made 72-foot putt. They measured it. So I sunk that one, won the sudden death, and then I won. So a lot of cool things happened when I was a junior player, to say the least. And then when I was 17, it was my last year to play. my parents and I, we decided, well, gosh, why don't I play some national tournaments? And the Western Junior, which was nationals, right? And then the nationals itself was at Augusta Country Club and at Pinehurst #2. So off I go to Pinehurst #2. My parents didn't even come with me. I had housing, right? They host you. My roommate was Muffin Spencer Devlin. And I remember that I shot a 76 in the medal round, which got me into the championship flight. And someone else who shot 76, who became my friend that day, was Amy Alcott. And we were sitting across from each other at this big long table, like the only girls with black hair, right? Dark hair, everybody's kind of blonde and etc. And so we're sitting across from each other. We just shot 76, we meet. And she says, you want to split a sandwich? I said, yeah, sure. What do you want? She says, corned beef. I said, on rye. She leans over and whispers in my ear, you're Jewish, aren't you? So that's when Amy and I became friends. And she was very close to her mother. She was wonderful. And my parents literally jumped in the car that afternoon from Milwaukee, drove and got there by the next morning. So they were there for the tournament. And I made it to the semifinals. I was leading the whole way. The only time I was down in that match, and as you know, I was a pretty good competitor. I didn't usually let things get away from me. I lost on the 19th hole to Laura Baugh in the semifinals. So anyways, it was, those, and I should tell you another thing. When I told you I was in the newspapers when I was young, we had a sports writer in Milwaukee, Billy 60 was his name. And he used to spend his winters down in Phoenix and in Arizona and New Mexico. And when I was 13, he came back from the winter and he told my parents, he said, she reminds me of a little girl I just met down in New Mexico, Nancy Lopez. So that's when I kind of heard of Nancy Lopez when she was 10 years old. She was a couple years younger than me. So, I had quite the junior career, to say the least. I should mention that I always had other interests. I would actually play maybe two and a half months. I was this national board member for a Jewish youth organization, and I went off and I did that. And, I really, considering how little I really played, and once in a while I took a few lessons in the winter and hit a ball into a net. I had one teacher, a man named Gordy Watson. Outside of that, that's really all I played. So I really did have a lot of natural talent. I say that not to brag, but I'm going to tie that into Aikido in a little bit. I got accepted to school at Stanford, but it was 1972. And for those of you who are American, we needed something called Title IX. It was an act of Congress that created more equal opportunity for young girls and women in sports to get sports scholarships. So I didn't have a golf scholarship to Stanford, even though I was top student and ranked in the top 10 nationally at that time with Amy and everybody as a junior girls golfer. So I played a little bit at Stanford, enough to still get to go to all the Stanford alumni things, which is totally great. And I still have a few friends from there, but I kind of lost interest in golf, quite honestly. And then I discovered Aikido, which is a Japanese martial art, and it's known as the art of peace. AI as a character in Japanese and Chinese, and it actually means love, but love is conceived of as harmony, unity, synchronicity, oneness, things working together. So we can imagine a golf swing, all the pieces working together. So that's the I. And Ki is, have you heard of Ki, Chi, Tai Chi? It means your life energy. And Do, D-O or T-A-O in Chinese, the Tao means the way. So it's this way of using our energy well and using our bodies well. And it's again known as peaceful power, which kind of comes into play if you think about golfers who try to kill the ball, right? We try to kill the ball and then we beat ourselves up and we say, oh, you idiot, you jerk, you're so bad. So we have a pretty violent self-talk or mental game for the most part. And we use a lot of upper body force. And in fact, golf is taught, generally speaking, by men who really emphasize the shoulder turn and the straight arm and upper body and don't really get us into our full body and our lower body nearly enough. I'll go into that a little bit more. But these were kind of some early clues. So yeah, those are some stories. There's more. But so here we are. Here I am starting to study Aikido, and I just went headlong into it. I mean, my teacher has since become one of the top American instructors in the world. This was in the kind of mid-late 70s. Aikido was just coming into the States. And so he taught 5 days a week at Stanford. I got a college credit. He also taught in San Francisco and in Redwood City. I would go to 8-10 classes a week, you know, even twice a day. And the whole time I was doing Aikido, I kept feeling that feeling like on the tip of your tongue, but it was on the tip of my whole body. And it lasted for like 4 years. I couldn't understand why Aikido felt so good and so familiar to me. And Aikido is pretty complicated, and there's tumbling, and as good an athlete as I am or was, I was not good at gymnastics. I really had trouble with the tumbling part, but I got it. But it just felt so familiar, and I had no idea why. Well, then I opened my own martial arts school when I was 25. Mind you, everyone else is on tour. And I actually worked for 2 years as a golf course maintenance worker. So I was doing a sort of downwardly mobile thing, but also like kind of young, you know, women getting into the trades. So I drove all those big mowers and all those little scooters, and I mowed the greens, and I moved the cups, and I worked on the irrigation system. And they were redoing 6 holes of the golf course. I would stay after work and hang out with the dozer driver. I learned how to run a backhoe and a front loader and moved all the sand and the dirt around. And I mean, I loved it. And it was, you know, at this point, I've been so happy that I really know the other side, the maintenance side of golf. It's really very, very interesting. Some people are arriving. Maybe they're getting the password now. So anyways, here I am now. I've just worked at the golf course for a few years. And then I did go back to grad school. I started studying psychology, doing my master's in psychology. And I opened my own Aikido school. And it was started out as a women's school, the Women's Aikido School of San Francisco. We're in 1980 now. I'm 25 years old. I know nothing about running a business. I have no money. My dad finally gave me $1,000 to buy a couple of mats. But my school got going. And I had it for, about 14, 15 years. It became the Aikido Arts Center after a while, where men, women, kids. But it's very empowering for women. And it was really cool to create a space where women are the teachers and women are the leaders. And, you know, men are coming into that space. It kind of had a different feel. It was really awesome. Some of the kids, I know them now. They're parents themselves. And Aikido has really influenced them a lot. But anyways, I was teaching one day about how to hold a sword, because we do sword work. And as I'm showing how to hold a sword, you put your hands like this. And in fact, I have, I do have a sword here. Okay, if you can see, this is a mini sword, but this is the way you hold a sword. And there's this extension of energy out the sword. And I was showing how to do that. And I said, well, you see, it's a lot like golf. And it popped out of my mouth, except at golf, our hands are together, right? And we have a little space. But otherwise, it was very, very similar. In a sense of extension out the blade of the sword was so similar to holding a golf club, and the extension out the club, and that same feeling. And in martial arts and Aikido, we need to get the energy, our energy, out to the tip of the sword. And in and in martial arts, in golf, we need to get our energy out to the face of the club, correct? And so here we have this similar grip and extension. And we have a throw in Aikido that you kind of turn and you throw the person that way. And we have a throw in Aikido and you turn and you throw the person that way. I was like, oh, that's the backswing. That's the follow through. What do you know? And all of a sudden that feeling on the tip of my tongue got very, very clear about why Aikido was so familiar. I've been extending my energy and getting centered and focused and balanced and left and right and this way and that. Circular movement. Aikido is very, very circular. Karate's kind of linear. Aikido is all circular, blending, flowing movements. So I hope you're getting the idea of the connection there. In Aikido, there is no competition, which is very, very interesting. The founder of Aikido was a very spiritual man, and he said it wasn't about defeating an enemy or being in opposition. It was about uniting our own selves with this whole power and life energy of the universe that runs through us from top to bottom and this way and all of that, and through our breath, through relaxation, working properly from the lower through the upper body, through the core, extending our energy. And he also said that instead of there being competition where we're like, vanquishing enemies or something, he said a really cool thing. True victory is self-victory. You can take that in for a minute. True victory is self-victory. So we're really dealing with ourselves. And I think we can understand that in golf. And it's not that you don't want to win. I mean, we have competition. We want to win the match and shoot the lowest score and all of that. But to do that, we talk about mental game, managing our emotions. It's really, isn't it, about our own self-victory? And I can tell you that I have become a senior champion. I'll tell you how I got back to golf in a minute, but I've won several senior titles, and one was the LPGA Teaching Pros Western Section Championship. And I remember very clearly being out there and saying to myself, you know what? True victory is self-victory. Today is all about, you could say mental game, but it was all about managing myself, because I had been in that position the year before and I ended up losing in the finals. I came in runner-up, and I was like, no, I want to win this year. And the way I won was by my own, from the start, I said, you got to manage yourself all day long. And I did. And so it was my self-victory that led to my victory. Okay. Another thing that I teach, I taught this, and I will teach this in the next golf mastery school. Linda really loved it. Something that the founder of Aikido said is that to rely on peace to activate your manifold powers. Okay, rely on peace. That's really profound, because we kind of think, peace is maybe kind of soft, or it's just nice, or love is just nice. No, this is a very powerful thing to do. And what does rely on peace mean? Just giving you a little taste of things. But if you think of golf, here we are, we're getting all tense and tight, and then we try to hit it too hard, or else you're getting nervous and you're kind of like, right? And you're sort of losing it. Rely on peace. Peace is the I key, the harmony. So when we get centered, when we unite ourselves, when we use our lower to upper body properly, lower to upper body, this is peace, this is harmony. And I can remember very clearly, one of the things that Aikido taught me was what I knew so naturally as a kid, to tie that back. What did I know naturally? What it was I sort of just kind of had without a lot of teaching and training. Well, I remember that I was always, the few things I was told was to not let my hips get ahead of my arms, right? You weren't supposed to let this get separated. And you also weren't supposed to kind of chop down like this. And, breathe, relax. Who doesn't hear that? So what that meant, the I key was to keep all of this connected. Don't let these get separated, right? Don't let this get ahead or behind, separated. So this unity, this harmony creates peace. And I'm a dual citizen of Israel. I speak Hebrew very well and fluently. And the word shalom, which a lot of people know, peace, actually comes from the root word shalom, shalem, which means wholeness. So peace is wholeness. And this idea about relying on peace to manifest, to activate and manifest our manifold powers, it's like, wow. And most of us, when we get stressed and in competition and in golf, we go the opposite way of peace. Would you agree? You can nod or, raise your hand a little if you realize you start tensing up and getting into that tighter, harder way of doing things. And we actually need to go the other way. And then we find out that we're activating our manifold powers. We're doing better. So I'll tell you how Ki Golf came about. Ki Golf, Aiki Golf. So you got the golf, you got the Aikido, you got the psychology, right? And of course, I was in San Francisco, and everything's holistic, and all these masters came through the Bay Area. So I got to study with just about every master in Aikido and golf, in somatic, body-oriented psychology, fitness work. I was really very blessed, and I also took advantage of it. I was kind of going about 8 days a week to study everything, teach everything, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so when I was in my early 40s, total breakdown. That was definitely my dark night of the soul. And I had a lot of injuries. I'd separated both my shoulders. I hurt my neck. I hurt my hip. I hurt my back. I hurt my ankles. I hurt just about everything. And it was getting to the point where I really couldn't train like I used to. I couldn't roll around, take all the falls I could teach. And then I couldn't even teach. And I could hardly roll over in bed. My hip hurt so bad. And on top of all that, I got to a state of what I didn't know what it was, but I got to a sort of naturopathic doctor who said, oh, here's what's wrong with you. Because I was just nervous and I couldn't sleep and I was getting anxious and depressed. And I was like, what's wrong with me? And she finally told me what was wrong with me. My adrenals had given out. I wasn't just in burnout. I was in what she said, adrenal collapse. And it's kind of called a nervous breakdown, I think, is what we would call it. And so I took a sabbatical. I went to San Diego for 6 months and I ended up staying about 15 years. Well, I had to get better from my injuries. That's when I met the woman who created Bliss Work, which you're starting to hear about. She's in San Diego. Bliss means balance, lengthen, integrate, stretch, strengthen. So I went to her classes all the time and my pain started going away. It was like, wow. I have to tell you, my pains were so bad, not only could I not roll over in bed, I would visit my parents who were like in their 70s. I would quit after 5 holes of golf. It's the only time I played golf, when I saw my parents, right, for 20 years. And after 5 holes, I quit. I had too much pain and they went on, right? Well, so I was in pretty bad shape. Bliss work, just my pain started disappearing, which you'll understand if you start doing bliss work with me. And then, and I had to take about a year or two out to get my adrenals to heal and to get calm and and get okay and eat right and sleep right and just quit being so extreme. These days I've been teaching, I have a program called Stress Less, Prosper More. I've become kind of an expert in stress. And so I went to the dark side of it. And I teach it to CEOs, I teach it to golfers, I teach it to everybody about how to really manage our stress. In Aikido, this kind of centering, balance, grounding, relaxing, integrating, uniting is essential to our health. I always say I'm a Jewish type A overachiever. It's a really bad combo. And going 8 days a week and doing everything. I went to the very bottom of collapse. Honestly, you don't want to be there. It's really no good. And we get to varying levels of it. Well, anyways, after I got better, my best friend since kindergarten, her name's Dena, was visiting me from Milwaukee. She still lives there. She came to San Diego to see me. And she said, hey, James, I'm golfing. You won't believe it. I'm playing golf. Could you give me a golf lesson? Now, mind you, I hadn't played golf for 20 years for the most part, a couple times a year when I saw my parents. And I noticed that I stayed just as good as I ever was. In some ways, I got even better. And that was because of Aikido, that I was aware of. But I really didn't play golf a lot. Anyway, so here I'm in San Diego. My buddy's here. I take her to Torrey Pines. We go to the driving range. I bring my sword and my 7-iron. She brings her clubs. We go out there. And I give her a golf lesson for about an hour. And it was like the golf sensei. Sensei is the word in Japanese for a teacher. And it's like the golf sensei taught it. I've been teaching, right? By now I'm teaching all over the world. We introduced Aikido to the Soviet Union. I'm teaching in the Middle East. I'm teaching everywhere, Aikido. And so I said, well, you know, you got to be centered and you can't be killing the ball. And here's how you get, you know, you got to even this out and use this relaxed power. Don't forget to use your legs and your lower body and yada da. And it was just so much fun to teach it. In an hour, she's making these beautiful golf swings she's never made. The ball's flying out there beautifully. And I kid you not, she fell on the ground. She threw her legs and her feet up and her golf club in the air. And she yelped. I wish I had a video of that moment. And she said, oh my God, this is like enlightenment. You've got to teach this to the world. And I said, you know, that was really fun. It was really easy. It was the most natural thing to me. So a few people for a month or two heard I give golf lessons. I gave a few golf lessons and it was unanimous. Everyone was just going like, wow, this is amazing. So I went by myself for about a year to, if you've been to San Diego and Del Mar, the surf and turf driving range. And I'd go a few times a week, very quietly, no one knew. And I'm just working on things and it's just coming into my swing. Everything's coming into a whole new framework, a whole new thing. And then I asked my bliss teacher to come to the driving range one day, and I still have the original video that we shot, and she would go, she just had this like x-ray vision. She could see in a golfer what wasn't happening, what muscles were and weren't working, what was connected, what wasn't, what needed activating, what needed connecting. And then she'd create an exercise and give it to the person. So I fashioned up all of that original raw footage into what I call golf bliss. balance, length, and integrate, stretch, strengthen, and created a whole golf fitness system, and it works into your golf swing. So it's really cool, and I teach it to this day. And then I had another friend, an Aikido Sensei, who I call the Einstein of Aikido. I went to a seminar he did against 22 years ago or something with a staff. And mind you, golfers call their clubs their blades and their sticks, right? Like swords and irons. And Scots called their swords irons. So there's this whole connection. So he said there's a perfect Joe strike from your center and da-da-da, and you have these coordinates of distances of you and your length of your limbs and to your partner, which would be our golf ball, right, that you're trying to hit. And there's a perfect strike that you could use effortless power that would have exponential acceleration, and captivated me, yeah? So I said, wow, there must be a perfect golf swing. And I started taking long walks on the beach in San Diego and twirling my Joe the way he did. And all of a sudden I realized that the golf swing is what we call in martial arts a kata, a repeating form. If you've ever done karate or if you've seen Tai Chi people doing forms, that the golf swing is a form, a repeating form. And if I could pattern the golf swing into a repeating form that would be correct and it would have all the right things in it and it would work. So I created the golf katas. And a lot of cool things happened that I was able to create a DVD series in Mesquite, Nevada, and Las Vegas, and that I still sell to this day and work with. And I created KI Golf, joined the LPGA as a teaching professional. And, I've blended a lot of psychology, a lot of fitness, these martial arts principles into golf. And it's really a very transformative approach to golf. And it helped me to find my way back to golf in a really meaningful way. So I'll just tell you one more story and then we'll just open it up. I wanted to do one thing with you, if you guys want to try something. But one more story I want to tell you is about sort of this mental game and self-victory and all of that. I was playing at the Ohio Women's Open. It's in Defiance, Ohio every year. So I don't know, 6-7 years ago, I won it, the senior division. And so I'm in the final group, right? And it's the second hole, it's par 5. And I started out one behind. And there's 3 of us. The other 2, they made their pars, and I 3-putted. So now I'm 2 back. I'm going into the 3rd hole. All I'm thinking about is how bad I am and how they're doing better than me. And I said, walking to the tee, I go, this is not good. You got to get hold of your mental game, right? And play your own game and all those things that we tell ourselves and get back in my own body and do all the things that I know how to do. Sure enough, I think I birdied the next hole. All of a sudden, it's better. And now we're on the 4th hole. It's a short par 4. We all have our drives in the same place. It's about a 100-yard shot to the green. And I'm on the green. I take it back. Somebody hits, and then this other woman named Loretta hits, and she knocks it in the hole for an eagle. I haven't even hit my shot yet, right? I'm not even on the green. She knocks it in for eagle. All of a sudden, I'm like 3 behind or something. And I have to tell you, instead of going like, oh no, and being all into what she did and getting upset and fearful, I have to tell you, I laughed. I think I broke out laughing. It was like an LOL because I just thought, well, isn't that a great message from the universe and the golf gods, right? Just to test me and see what I'm going to do with that. And so kind of I just did all the things that I know how to do, rise to lower scores, I shot even par that day, and I beat her by 2 shots. It was head-to-head, Loretta and me, the whole way through. So I just want to share that story about how these things kind of work. Yeah. I could say more things, but I think that's enough for now. If you guys have questions, I did want to run you through one exercise, but if you have questions before we do that.
Jamie, that was unbelievable. I'm very inspired by what you had to say. I'm intrigued as to why, with such a fabulous junior career, you got away from golf in the first place. And are you at peace with golf now, playing golf now?
Thank you. Those are beautiful questions.
I've struggled with them myself. So
yeah. Well, I mean, to be quite honest, I always had. I love golf. The truth is, I absolutely adore golf. So I'm very, very happy that I came back to golf. Can't say that strongly enough. at the same time, especially back then, well, I still have the same issues that I did. I just kind of made my peace with it a little bit better, was the fact that, like I said, I had other interests, and I was always kind of a social activist. And I was growing up, you know, it was kind of getting to be the end of the Vietnam War, you know, issues like that. And honestly, when I played those tournaments in the South, basically in Augusta, at Pinehurst, and I was very aware at a young age of racism and class and all those things, and sexism. I was aware of it all for some reason, way back when. And it really kind of bothered me that I had all of these like adult 50, 60-year-old Black people waiting on me in the locker room and carrying my clubs around for $5. And I just felt like, you know, I just couldn't see doing the whole country club life and doing that. That was difficult for me. And then when I didn't have a golf scholarship, just because it didn't exist. And so I just kind of went more with some of my other interests. And quite honestly, I had taken my senior year, second half of my senior year off from high school. I got all my AP credits. I was in Stanford in 3.5 years, and I worked at a 7-Eleven kind of place. I'd made some money for $1.60 an hour, and I told my parents and the school administrators, I said, bye, I'm out of here. And I went to Israel to a kibbutz. So I was farming for that semester, those 6 months, started learning Hebrew, And then in 1973, there was another war in Israel, the Yom Kippur War. And I took off of school and I went and farmed and volunteered down in the desert up in Golan Heights. I was driving my tractors and stuff and having a good time. So, you know, like I said, I had other interests and other things. When I got back from Israel that time, that was 74, is when I met a couple of friends who were doing Aikido, and I was back at Stanford, and they told me about Aikido, and I just thought it sounded way too good to be true. It was like, it just sounded too wonderful. And so I went very cynically, and it was as good as they said. And it just captivated me. So, you know, that's what kind of took me away, and I stayed away for a long time. Like I said, I would golf with my parents, but it always sort of bothered me that I had that golf talent and I didn't do anything with it. And I had that golf passion and I wasn't playing. So when I did get back to golf, thanks to Dena, my friend, quite honestly, I couldn't have been happier. And honestly, I couldn't be happier that I was able to get back to it in a really meaningful way, which is to blend in Aikido and these principles and to actually kind of make a change in consciousness, even to golfers. And a lot of golfers turned out to be business leaders. So, you know, I have an impact in terms of there's a more harmonious, a more peaceful way that we could be doing things and living our lives and treating our golf ball and treating each other. And we could be healthier, we could be more whole. So, you know, I get to golf again. I've really loved playing. I love to play. I love to compete as it happens. I won gold medals. I play in the International Jewish Olympics. It's every 4 years. I've won a number of gold medals doing that. And so, you know, I love it. So that was a great question, and that's how I got away from it. That's how I got back to it.
Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. First of all, Jamie, you ooze energy and positivity. My goodness, yeah, what an amazing life you have. It's incredible. My question is, I've browsed at your website, and for someone like me, I get all scattered at times, and like for someone like us, like what would you suggest? Like you have a few programs going on. What would you suggest? Like one of us would take first. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, right now virtually, I've been doing every other week. I'm doing some Bliss classes, Bliss Fitness, and that's a nice place to start and do something. And I mean, everything I do, I kind of bring in the centering and bring in these principles and relaxed flowing power and all of that. So that's there. But also, you know, getting strong, getting focused. What I love about Aikido is it's the blend of those things, right? It's not just this, but it's not just this. It's really, and that's what we need in golf, quite honestly. And we need to know how our bodies work. So, you know, I take a Bliss class, but I am going to do, oh, you know what? I got so busy. I never shared my, some of my slides here. But let's see, this is the upcoming Ki Golf Mastery School, and I do it in over a series of days, and I'm going to do it over in a week, and 2-hour sessions each, and we'll go. Oh, there's a mistake on that. I got to change day 5. It's supposed to be day 4. We're just doing 4 days, but that would be a great place. And you don't really need a background. You got your golf background, you will get a ton out of this, because I go through these principles, then I go through the fitness and swing patterning that I told you about. Then third day is about golf psychology and our mental and emotional game. Fourth day, which I got to fix that typo there, is reaching our potential, our teaching, learning, playing potential. You know, and I hope to have last time we had about half pros, half amateurs. That was really cool. I am very proud of this one quote from Shirley. She's the founder of the LPGA, one of only 2 still alive, if you know the story. And if you haven't seen the founders film, you should. And she's a very close friend, and we became close friends. She's 93 when she saw me teach in 2001. So she said, Jamie ranks among the best qualified trainers in golf. She puts it all together in her seminars, lessons, her teachings, using peaceful power, nurture techniques, and plain common sense are what it's all about. So, you know, you can just jump right in. You know, Karen didn't have any background when she didn't do anything until she did that. Yeah.
What happens if during the course you're working? I know that Tuesday you're doing that bliss course in the morning, right? If I remember.
Yeah.
And then I work on Mondays and Tuesdays, that's the only 2 days.
Well, no,
I
actually
work.
it's Wednesday. Bliss is on Wednesday. I move it around a little bit. And the mastery school is going to be, I think I've set it up for Thursday, Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought Bliss was on Thursday.
No, I change it around. I always move it around.
Okay.
I've been moving it because people have different things. So I move it around a little bit.
It's really fun. It's a great class. I've been teaching classes.
Thank you, Elise.
And the in private Bliss classes with Jamie through Zoom with my partner, and we've been having so much fun with it. And yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Elise. Yeah. Bliss is awesome, and I'm very grateful to my teacher. And then I always evolve things, or I don't know, evolve. I mix things in. And Aikido kind of underscores everything, I would say, because I find that it's just a generic, universal way of being. And yeah. Any other questions or comments? I do want to run you through one quick thing, and I'm aware of our time. But if you have anything else.
I want to agree with Jackie. I'm the same kind of scattered, hard to focus, ADD. Yeah. And what I've gained from both the Bliss classes and the mastery course was playing with more peace, more, you know. And Jamie would say it's not ooh, it's gathering yourself, gathering your mind and your body and your spirit. And I just really enjoyed, Linda could probably speak more to how it's changed my game than I can, because we've had a chance to play together. But I think I've just enjoyed the peace of playing golf more now. Maybe Linda could speak to that.
Yes, as Jamie had said, there's, if you had to pick one word to describe a good feeling golf swing,
I think we lost Linda.
I think she got dumped off when the phone rang.
Yeah.
I was getting a phone call. Anyways, the word is smooth. Smooth, right, Jamie?
Yep, smooth.
Smooth. And certainly has smoothed Karen's moves out. It's smoothed a lot of, even just how I've been very busy teaching, because there's a lot of people coming to the sport because they can't do other things. So it's been quite interesting to have athletes from other sports come and try on golf for size. And I've used a lot of Jamie's teaching in my lessons, and even how I carry about myself through my day. One day I had taught 20 people. I haven't done that in years. I had to keep myself very smooth all day, and no expectations, and just moving better, keeping everybody moving better.
Well, what you're talking about, Linda, is learning to manage our energy. And
Yes.
it's so important that energy isn't some Eastern thing or some woo-woo California thing, that it's very practical. And in fact, a first question I usually ask people is what makes your golf ball go? And it turns out it's you, it's your energy. It's not hitting it, and it's not the club, and it's not any of those things. It's you and your energies, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual energy that you're in charge of. So this is why it's mastery, self-mastery, yeah? And it turns out that my golfers end up where they were tired or in pain after 12 holes, 13 holes. One of the best things, in addition to making better shots, better scores, they just have more energy. They make it to 18 holes and they feel like, oh, I'm still good to go. Or they are taking less Advil and it doesn't hurt. Like, those are huge gains. And it's about energy management, or being able to have 20 students in a day and you're still all right. And again, these are things I had to learn, and I learned them the hard way by burning out and and doing it I'm a Taurus, so I'm a bull, you know, and it's like, no, that's not going to work. Yeah. Actually, this is my logo, Ki Golf. It's a sword and a golf ball, which is pretty cool. Ki Golf. Anything else? And then I do want to just do one thing before we stop, if you have time. Any other comments or questions?
Is there a way that you can participate in your classes and or programs without having to be specifically available on those Wednesday, Thursday, Saturdays? Is it videoed? Is it taped? Can you sign
you can sign up. Just sign up anyways. If you don't make it, we'll send you the recording. And with the golf school, I know that sometimes, you know, it's hard to get people there for the and what's a good time. And but you know, if you can make it to 2 or 3 of them, do the whole thing, because we'll send you the recordings. Yeah. Absolutely, for sure. Anybody else? Anything else? Okay, you ready? Well, let's do one thing, and this will also set you up for the golf school. So if everybody would stand up, and I'm going to move my iPad if I lose you for a second. Don't worry. Okay, good. Excellent. Here we are. Okay. So now what I'd like you to do, everybody, is to pretend that you're going to throw a ball. Okay, and you can do it underhand. Okay, throw a ball. Yeah? Just throw a ball. Great. Now, when you throw a ball, study your movement. Does throwing a ball happen in your hand, or does it happen in your arm, or does it happen somewhere else?
Or a body.
Yeah? Okay, I already heard body. It happens in your whole body, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if you study it a little more, it happens in your feet. It starts with a step. It's like you got all your weight on your back foot. You take a step, which we call generically in Aikido, you create a base. And then you use your hips. Yeah, you power it from your legs. And then comes shoulder, elbows, hands, arm, breath, ball. You got that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then there's an order of movement. Lower body, whole body, powers the arm, throws the ball. Great. Okay. Now I want you you all play tennis? You don't really have to, but you've all probably tried tennis a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's everybody do a forehand in tennis, okay? Do a forehand in tennis. Now, where did that start from? Was it your arm and the racket on the ball, or was it something else?
The feet.
Very good, A+. It starts with your feet. So feet is the same thing. Feet, create a base, powers your legs, or which are your big strong muscles, powers your hips. Wham! There goes your nice forehand. So a forehand in tennis actually starts in the feet. Let's pretend you're playing basketball, and I want you to do a free throw. Okay, you're at the free throw line. Bounce, 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 boom. Okay, bounce, 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 boom. Where did the free throw start? Was it in your hands and tossing the ball, or was it something else?
Your feet.
Feet. Yeah. Getting the idea? Okay. So it not only that, you go down. You went down.
That's right.
And you got your feet, and then if you can feel in your knees a little in use here, and feel the energy come up through your body, and then you toss the ball. Now try doing a free throw without any body in it. Just use your hands and your arms.
No, it doesn't work.
Right? No, it doesn't work.
No power. No power.
No power. It feels weird. But notice that the power comes from the body, and then the hands and arms it can be really poof, soft. So I like to think about these like giant basketball players. They're so big and tall and strong, and they go poof. Their hands are like light as feathers. Poof. Okay, let's go to golf. You ready? Line up for your golf shot or address the ball. Here's a question for you. Where does your back, how do you start your backswing? What do you do to start your backswing? Anybody know?
Shift your weight.
Shift your weight. Anybody else?
You move your chest. I know.
Chest.
Move
Okay.
your whole-
Notice how you're not really sure. Okay.
Damn you
You're not
anyway.
really sure. Okay, we'll leave it at that. You're not really sure, but let's just say you got to your backswing. Okay, so get to your backswing, however you did. Here's my next question. How do you start your downswing to go hit the ball?
Shift and weight.
Shift the leg.
Shift
Your
your
feet.
weight, hips. Anybody else?
Leg. Hip.
I'm thinking it's going to come back to feet. It does, yeah.
Well,
I
it
didn't
ought
want
to come back to feet, but guess what? It probably doesn't. And notice that we're also having trouble answering this question. Well, I think I shift my weight. Well, I think I drop my arms. Well, I think I don't know. Well, it kind of, I got that. Yeah? So the answer is kind of unclear for how you start your backswing and how you start your downswing. Yeah? Much less how you do your follow through. So I'm going to propose to you that number one, you should probably have an answer. You should probably know what you're doing, and then train it, practice it, groove it in. And number two, your answers should make sense, and they should make athletic sense. So we went through all the sports because they give us athletic sense about where movement starts from. It starts from the feet and legs. Most golf instruction, if you think about it, turn your shoulders.
I know, but it starts with the feet.
Straight
too.
left arm. Yeah. Pull that the butt of the club down to the ball. Keep it here. Yeah. And so you get the idea? So I'm going to suggest to you that if every sport, and we didn't even go through them all, but skiing happens in your feet. And your feet pull. If you put your pole first, which is upper body, you fall over. You lose your balance. If you're riding a horse, you got to be centered in here. If you're going like this and pulling the reins tense and tight in your upper body on the horse, that horse doesn't like you very much. Yeah. So you can sit back down. We'll finish up here.
The horse runs back to the food barn.
So I've kind of posed the questions. I've given you some hints at the answer. But so what I really have done in golf and in Ki golf is to follow all other sports. Notice that that's the way things happen, and that most of us aren't nearly enough aware of our lower body, our feet. We think there isn't much footwork in golf because we're not running around, and we are taught mostly by men who have much stronger upper bodies. By the way, men totally transform through Ki golf because they're not doing this. They're like, and if you watch the pros, they're not killing the ball. They're an amazing, powerful order. So, and then I give you the exercises to strengthen your lower body, to strengthen your neural muscular connections from your brain to your body, and to pattern the golf swing, and to follow these natural principles. And it's quite transformative. Karen actually was having revelations. The very first, your first ones were like, oh my God, I didn't know, a lower body, legs? Oh, what are you talking about? I never knew about that. Nobody ever told me about that. And so that started to be quite transformative, I think, in your golf game. And it turns out that lower body and center, all these things get us calm. They help us deal with fear and stress. They're related to our mental game. So my psychology, my golf psychology relates all this and brings it into the body. And so it's very practical. I mean, you use it. It's not some like mental game and what are my thoughts or, you know, like go to a hypnotherapist or something. No, this is like right in your body. And you need to, I would say, well, what you have on the golf course is you, your body, your mind, and your golf club. So that's pretty much the way I train you, and it's all legal. So you can manage yourself on the golf course in a legal way with your golf club, right? So I hope that gives you a little sense, a little taste of what's different and what it can be so powerful and so transformative, but also what's after you start doing it, you're like, duh, like that was such common sense, as Shirley Spork said. It's such common sense and we miss it. We really, really miss it. So with that, I think if you have any comment or question about that, but I hope that gave you a little bit of a sense of what could be so powerful or so transformative and how this all kind of starts working together.
Truly inspiring, Jamie. Honestly, I'm intrigued, and I'm going to go to your website. You might see me on one of your sessions soon.
Well, I hope so, and it'd be awesome to, if you guys want to jump in and do the golf school tomorrow. We're just getting that posted now to sign up for the golf school. That should be available later, probably later today, or in a few hours. She'll get that all posted for the golf school, and then the next Bliss session is on the 15th, which is on a Wednesday, the end of the month, the 23rd through the 30th. There's 4 days out of those. There's a little break in between, so you can have time to integrate, and just be sure people can make it as much as possible. But that'll be the last week of July is the golf school, golf mastery school.
I'll send out the link to the Bliss one on the 15th.
Great. Okay.
Jamie, I'll see you on the 15th for that one.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jamie,
I mean, it'd be lovely to see you. This wasn't meant to be like an advertisement, but I mean, I guess it is. But I just hope that you also are inspired and get some new ideas about how you can, play and be your best, basically.
I think that's the beauty of it, is that it does give some new ideas, but I don't mean that anything we've learned is unsensible, but sensible and centering, and it's just made the game more enjoyable and getting better. Never hurts.
Yeah.
It's amazing that it's almost like the less you try, the better you play. And I'm sure that's part of what all of this kind of ties into, and love to be able to harness that on a more frequent basis.
Well, and, thank you for saying that. That's really the point. We hear those things. I mean, Lao Tzu said 2,000 years ago, do less, accomplish more. Or we say, quit trying so hard, or don't think so much, and da-da-da. It's one thing to say those things, or, swing slower, or keep your balance, but those are just words, and we have to get that into our bodies. And so, like I sort of have a Stanford brain, but I'm a jock at heart. I'm a body person at heart. And I think we got to get this into our bodies and get our mental game into the physical. And that's a place most of us haven't gone. I'm actually writing a book about all this right now. And this whole, getting down below our head. We have this whole Judeo-Christian culture that's like, don't be here. And we live in our heads, and then we're looking for the answers in our heads, and it's abstract, and then we're on our devices, and we need to bring all of these things into our bodies. And that's the beauty of golf. Why I love teaching golf, why I love doing Aikido, teaching Aikido, is that it's, these are smart games, and they're philosophical games, and they're spiritual games, and they're mental, emotional games, and they happen in our bodies. You still have to make a swing and hit a shot and get a score and have results. And that's the fun of it, is to connect it all. And to operationalize all these great ideas. So to make, do less, accomplish more, stress less, prosper more, whatever, rise to lower scores, to make that so that it's real, it makes sense. And then you find out that you put your golf club down and you're like, oh, this is just me and my life. You want to be more what I call the master, the black belt in your life, and be living in a place that's more peacefully powerful.
Jamie, what items do you need to take this Bliss class besides a glass of wine after?
For Bliss, all you need is you. Wear some comfortable clothes or sweatpants or whatever. A chair. We use a chair a lot. Sometimes a little small object that's easy. I'll use like my glasses or something. We sometimes do that, or maybe a 2-pound weight if you have one, 3-pound weight. But you just pretty much need you for Bliss, and a chair. Have that handy. For the golf mastery school, I'll let you know. But, you know, we do swings. We get out there and we're swinging and doing things. So, you know, you'll want to bring a couple clubs to Golf Mastery School, and we will be doing it. We'll learn all my exercises. We'll learn all my swing patternings. We'll be doing it all. So we go between the, as Albert Einstein said, one of my favorite quotes, learning is experience. All the rest is just information. So we go between the information and the doing, the experience. We have to get this experientially. And I want you to have it in your bodies, in your swings, in your putts, you know, how you line up, just everything. So it's kind of a blend of the mind and the body, of the information and the doing and the experience.
I don't know where that's coming from, but
I think it's coming from Elaine.
No, I don't think so.
No?
This is Shirley.
are you doing dishes over there?
I'm not, no. Is
Oh,
your web site www.kiagolf.com? Is that the web?
Yeah, you can get, just a second. You can get to my website. It's the same website. You can get to it from Kiai Golf, Kiai Golf, Kiai golf.com, or The Centered Way, THE Centered, CENTERED WAY, The Centered Way. Either one takes you to the same place. Yeah, and you can also just put your email in there, and then you'll get the emails, and they'll have, you know, the info and the flyers, and you sign up through my website. You know, it's all that stuff.
Okay. I don't really like doing dishes, so it wouldn't be me doing the dishes right now.